Have you ever worn a mask so impenetrable that even your deepest affections echo unheard, like in Frank's hidden diary whispers lost in the attic silence, or the stoic resolve of a samurai facing the cherry blossom's fall, concealing turmoil beneath unyielding calm? Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota, Episode 1 delves into that chasm between inner turmoil and outward facade, where emotions clash like waves against an unyielding cliff. Released on October 4, 2025, as the whimsical opener to this fall rom-com adaptation of Fuyu Izuma's manga, it launches a tale of mismatched expressions in a junior high world brimming with youthful awkwardness. Feel the crisp school air tinged with chalk dust and unspoken yearnings, the faint rustle of uniforms like pages turning in a forbidden love letter, the subtle warmth of a glance that lingers too long, yet promises more. I was personally struck by its playful intrigue, a narrative that teases the heart without surrender, leaving you breathless, wondering, what if the face you show the world hides the love that could change everything? Step closer, reader. Don't you feel the pull, the suspense coiling like a spring, urging you to witness if silence can scream louder than words? Episode 1 introduces us to junior high classmates Kashiwada, whose face remains an eternal blank slate akin to the enigmatic Mona Lisa, eternally guarding her secrets, and Oota, whose every emotion explodes across his features like Charlie Chaplin's exaggerated antics in a silent film. No prior episodes precede this, but it swiftly establishes their dynamic through a game of old maid that escalates into comedic confrontations, transitioning seamlessly into schoolyard antics where Oota's pranks aim to crack her composure. Imagine sitting at that desk, cards slick in your hands, the tension building like the hush before a storm in Gone with the Wind, as revelations about affections surface amid misunderstandings. A key interaction hints at deeper connections, leaving a cliffhanger that echoes Romeo's misread signals to Juliet, poised for romantic chaos. But what truly lies behind Kashiwada's impassive gaze? The episode dangles that mystery, heart-racing, compelling you to dive in and unravel if expressions are mere illusions or the keys to hidden truths. Episode 1 advances the narrative with effervescent charm, laying the foundation for a rom-com centered on emotional mismatches, highlighted by Oota's relentless attempts to elicit a reaction from Kashiwada, culminating in a surprising confession that twists like the unexpected betrayal in The Usual Suspects. Revelations focus on their polar personalities, Oota's over-the-top expressiveness versus Kashiwada's stoicism, building to a cliffhanger where belief in sincerity hangs in the balance. Pacing is lively, a bubbly sprint through school scenes balanced with quieter introspective moments, maintaining dramatic equilibrium without overwhelm. Fans often query cloudy aspects like why Oota dismisses Kashiwada's words, or if her inexpressive nature masks genuine feelings. The manga clarifies this ambiguity. Kashiwada harbors deep emotions, but a congenital condition prevents facial expressions, making her confessions authentic yet misinterpreted. Oota's skepticism stems from his own insecurities and past failures in reading people, adding layers to their budding romance. This context enriches the animation, transforming surface comedy into a poignant exploration of vulnerability, much like how Pride and Prejudice unveils misunderstandings as narrative drivers. Kashiwada emerges as a layered enigma, her hidden wounds, perhaps a loneliness echoed in the isolated figures of Edward Hopper's paintings, motivating a quiet pursuit of connection, her choices consistent in subtle defiance yet transformative in their honesty. Oota, with his explosive motivations to provoke reactions, reveals psychological depth through surprising tenderness beneath the bravado, his dialogues shifting from jest to genuine curiosity. Friends like Odajima add emotional mirrors, their interactions surprising in how they expose Oota's growth from prankster to unwitting admirer. I think their developments feel organic, like budding flowers in a Monet garden, surprising in revelations that hint at mutual affection without overt declaration. The episode raises profound questions. What if our truest selves are trapped behind unyielding exteriors, like Plato's cave dwellers mistaking shadows for reality? Themes of emotional authenticity manifest in Kashiwada's internal warmth clashing with her blank face, questioning morality in communication. Does withholding expressions equate to deceit, or is it a survival mechanism against judgment? Oota's overtness embodies hope amid despair, his antics a sacrifice for connection, echoing existential struggles in Camus' The Stranger, where alienation breeds unlikely bonds. These resonate through choices, like Oota's pranks mirroring real-life attempts to bridge emotional gaps, pulling you into reflection. Haven't you hidden feelings behind a smile, yearning for someone to see through? Set in a relatable junior high milieu, the episode introduces cultural rules of adolescent social dynamics, cliques, games, and unspoken hierarchies that enrich the universe without complication. Much like the everyday backdrops in My Neighbor Totoro, grounding fantastical personalities and familiar lore of youth, the script sparkles with sharp wit, yet poetic in its brevity. Lines like confessions delivered deadpan carry the weight of Hemingway's iceberg theory, foreshadowing arcs while resonating like echoes in an empty hall. Impactful without cliches, dialogues foreshadow misunderstandings, leaving you pondering long after, as if overhearing a whispered secret in a crowded cafe. Feel the words hang in the air, reader. Doesn't their subtlety ignite a curiosity that demands you witness the full exchange? Animation from Studio Poland flows with delightful fluidity, art direction employing soft pastels for school scenes and stark contrasts in close-ups, where lighting casts subtle shadows on Kashiwada's unchanging face, symbolizing internal depth, not mere aesthetic, but a visual metaphor for concealed emotions that pierces the heart. Direction masterfully uses tight camera angles during games, compositions framing Oota's wild expressions against Kashiwada's stillness, editing rhythms syncing with comedic beats to amplify tension, akin to Hitchcock's suspenseful cuts. The soundtrack acts as an unseen narrator, whimsical motifs elevating playful moments, crescendos burning into memory during revelations, while silences in confessions speak volumes, haunting like the quiet aftermath of a Beethoven symphony. Voice acting shines. Akane Fujita's Kashiwada delivers with monotonic timbre laced with subtle tremors, embodying a soul's quiet storm. Kyuhei Natsum's Oota infuses intensity and humor, his vocal fluctuations capturing the character's emotional whirlwind. This episode stirred a whimsical ache in me, sparking wonder at the fragility of connections, like rediscovering a childhood letter unsent. Moments of misunderstood affection leaving gentle scars of empathy. The pivotal revelation unfolds as a collision of guarded hearts, a breaking point where facades crack, shifting dynamics irrevocably, reminiscent of the epiphany in Casablanca's farewell scene. It connects to universal queries. How do we bridge the gulf between what we feel and what we show, like bridges over Monet's lily ponds, reflecting distorted truths? I personally felt the echo of unspoken words in my chest, the faint taste of bittersweet longing. Reader, haven't you carried such burdens, scars of misread glances? The suspense lingers, drawing you inexorably toward answers that promise to heal those echoes. Using reverse reading, potential flaws like repetitive pranks, evoking critiques of a played-out premise, reframe as deliberate echoes of classic comedy tropes, building thematic depth on emotional persistence. A slow start might opaque for some, but it mirrors the gradual unveiling of characters, a stylistic choice enhancing immersion. I didn't like occasional static frames, yet they underscore Kashiwada's stillness, adding intentional contrast. Balanced, the episode's charm outweighs minor opacity, delivering heartfelt laughs with measured critique. Episode 1 triumphs in comedic timing, character nuance, and thematic subtlety, though minor repetitions temper its pace, ultimately succeeding as a captivating rom-com gateway, blending heart and humor with artistic finesse. I anticipate its unfolding like a blooming lotus, but as expressions fade into twilight whispers, can you resist peering behind the mask, feeling the warmth of hidden affections call your name? Watching isn't mere entertainment, it's the inevitable unraveling of your own veiled heart. Have you ever worn a mask not of porcelain or plaster, but of your own flesh, its surface smooth as still water, tasting of unspoken salt on your lips as emotions eddy beneath like currents in a calm sea, the chill of concealment seeping into your cheeks like the frost of a winter whisper, where each glance from another brushes your skin like the ghost of judgments unvoiced, or caught the fervent flush of a fool's fervor, where the air hums with the scent of school chalk and adolescent ardor, pulling you into a dance of deciphered desires despite the divide of demeanor? In Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota Episode 2, aired October 12, 2025, this duality of display delves deeper into the series' budding arc of mismatched mirth, extending Episode 1's initial intrigue, Kashiwada's stoic stare meeting Oota's overzealous antics in classroom capers, into a splash of synchronized surprises that test the tides of temperament, echoing the silent symmetries of Jane Eyre's reserved restraint amid Rochester's roiling passions in Bronte's brooding halls, or the expressive excesses of Chaplin's tramp tumbling through taciturn trials in silent cinema spotlights. It probes identity's insistent veil. What truths transpire when the face fails to betray the heart's hidden havoc? I lingered in its laughter, the episode's intrigue a velvet vignette, playful in its pranks, yet pierced by pangs that pixelate the persona like unresolved riddles in a Renaissance portrait. Can you sense it, that subtle shift in a swimming pool's chlorine-kissed haze, the distant splash echoing like the unspoken confessions in Austen's drawing rooms, where eyes meet across rippled reflections? The scene doesn't unveil the undercurrent, it undulates it, each unexpressed emotion and enticement. What veiled vulnerabilities might your own visage conceal if cracked by curiosity's current? From Episode 1's whimsical whirls, Oota's prankish pursuits piercing Kashiwada's impassive armor amid the humdrum of homeroom hijinks, this second stroke submerges the duo in the school's aquatic arena, where swimming lessons serve as a stage for synchronized struggles. Kashiwada, her inexpressive facade a fortress against the flotsam of failure, grapples with the graceless glide of strokes, her form a floating enigma amid the splashes. Oota, ever the expressive engine, interjects with impromptu instruction, his antics a anchor in her aquatic awkwardness, while lunchtime skirmishes at the school store add savory skirmishes to the mix, bread-buying battles blending comedy with concealed cares. Clubroom chats and casual collisions weave in wider webs, hinting at histories hidden beneath the humor, transitioning the tale from solitary stoicism to shared strokes, each ripple a rung toward relational revelations. It charts a course from isolated impressions to intertwined immersions, much like the tentative tango of Elizabeth and Darcy in Regency ballrooms, where missteps mask mutual magnetism. Picture yourself poolside, the sharp tang of chlorine clawing your throat as Oota's exuberant exhortations echo off tiled walls like the rallying cries in gladiatorial arenas. Does the dread of drowning in display dampen your dive, or does its absurdity summon a defiant dip? The narrative notches its nuances nimbly, each splash a murmur of the mayhem masked. What submerged sentiments might the next stroke surface? Episode 2 composes the chronicle with the cadence of a well-tuned duet, advancing the rom-com's rhythm from initial impressions to immersive interactions, revelations of reciprocal readings, Oota's overexpressions offsetting Kashiwada's opacity, blooming into a twist of tender tutelage, where poolside pratfalls propel partnerships, capping in a cliffhanger that teases trials transcending the trivial, pacing pirouettes with purposeful poise, languid lulls of locker room levity yielding to lively leaps of lunch-hour lunacy, balancing dramatic depth like the measured melodies in Mozart's operas, introspective interludes amplifying the ensemble's eventual eruption. Equilibrium endures elegantly, though fans fret over cloudy aspects. Kashiwada's swimming snafu, symbolic slip or satirical slight, Oota's unchecked zeal, a fervor that flares without full feedback, the episode's episodic essence, vignettes veering from vignette without visible vector. Drawn from manga's chapters 3 to 5, Fuyu Izuma's serialized sketches on Nico Nico Saiga's DRA sharp hashtag 2018 to 2023, where the adaptation amplifies effective accents for animated allure. These mists manifest as motivic maneuvers. The aquatic awkwardness, detailed in Chapter 4's digressions as emblematic of emotional exposure, Izuma's notes emphasize. Faceless floundering as metaphor for masked mishaps. Not anomaly but allegory for vulnerability's veil, clarifying confusion as comedic cadence. Oota's enthusiasm, expounded in Chapter 5's asides as unbridled authenticity. His face-forward flair a deliberate dissonance against Kashiwada's reserve, enriching the reel with relational rhythms. The segmented style, inferred in interstitial inks, underscores slice-of-life sovereignty. Episodes as easels for standalone strokes, transforming opacity into operatic overture. This progression doesn't plunge. It pools, binding banalities as Bond's backbone. The visages vibrate with vivid veneer, souls shaded like chiaroscuro in candlelit canvases. Kashiwada cloaks as the core's cryptic canvas. Her veiled vulnerability the vice of verbal voids, inexpressions imprint a lattice of latent longings. Motivations meshed with mysteries moxie masking marginalization's malaise. Choices, enduring embarrassment in eddies, entreating empathy with enigmatic ease, consistent in their cautious charisma yet transformative, surprising in a shimmer of submerged sincerity that shatters her stoic shell, evoking the emergent elegies of Elizabeth Bennet in Austen's Assemblies, where restraint reveals resilient romance. Oota overflows as optimistic overture, his hidden hunger for harmony beneath the hype, growth glimpsed in guiding gestures that ground his gusto. Ensemble echoes like Tabuchi orient as optimistic overseers, their encouragements an elixir of empathy. Consistent, as composed canvases, transformative, in the portrait's reveal, yes, evolution etched in every expression embraced. The episode excavates expression's elastic enigma, potency's provisional pivot in performance, where ethics elasticizes in the embrace of empathy, ablation the oblique offering of oblivion for the oracle of otherness unveiled. Past placards, these pigments proliferate via pursuits. Kashiwada's veil a philosophical pivot on presence's potency, incarnating in Oota's overtures, fortune's fragments as filial fortitude, a subsistence signal echoing Sartre's existential exhibitions or the sacrificial sketches in the picture of Dorian Gray's mirrored madnesses. Does aspiration's arabesque armor the anima, or does despondency's frailties downbeat delineate the divide. Clubroom camaraderie probes the precipice. Community as canvas, determination's a dance of divergence reclaimed amid conformity's crush. Mythos multiplies meticulously. The school's social strata, expressions as unspoken undercurrent, clubs as communal crucibles, embellishes the expanse with edicts of echoed existence, where everyday's ethos twines with high school's humdrum, convoluting the chronicle with convergences of culture and crisis, history's hapless heroes haunting the hyper-real. Hallways. Azuma's artistry, adapted with Arter's artistry, lacerates like a latent line, incisive as an inset icon, lyrical in its laconic lilt, transfiguring trope into trenchant toasts. Kashiwada's silences shimmer with subtle quirk, presaging partitions that pulse post-pull like the poignant pleas in a silent voice's silenced soliloquies. Oota's outbursts, yoked with yokel yowls, reverberate with the roar of renegade refrains. Potent, pervasive, each locution a lure of legacy and levity, legating you to the lore. Catch Tabuchi's optimistic overture overflow like a mentor's muse in Stand By Me's riverside revelations. Does it hone your heart, this oratorical oscillation? The lexicon doesn't lecture. It limbs, each lacuna a lure to the legend lurking. Studio Poland's palette pulses with poignant precision. Fluid flurries of facial flickers, forms flickering in flexible finery that symbolize shifting semblances. Azure swells stark against scholastic sepias. Lighting layers longing. Lantern-lit lulls gilding gatherings. Umbras undulating in uncanny upsurges to evoke existential entanglement. Stasis in Kashiwada's ruminative repositions relents to riotous rushes of rhythm. Beauty a bittersweet brew. Not bauble, but beacon, the counterpoint of chroma and crepuscule chiseling catharsis from chimera. The vista's verve. Sweeping shots of stumble stutter paralleling multiplicity's maelstrom. Proximate portraits pinning pupils in pantomime's pinch. Montages measured measures mirroring mimesis that magnifies malaise. Akin to Ozu's Tokyo story gazes into the gulf. Configurations cradle cataclysms, each vista a vault for the viscera's vaulting. The score summons as spectral summoner, incipit's jaunty jangle gelling into jaunty japes, acoustic arcs surging like sepia specters, bewitching blanks with balladry's bomb, apotheoses ascending in anthem assaults that abrade like artificial adversaries. Quietude quests quintessentially in quartered Fujiwara's Tabuchi, a velvet vibrato laced with laryngeal ache, coils camaraderie with coy craving, enunciations excavating the echoes, and snaring you in the sonics as if your timbre might temper the tumult. This episode evoked an exquisite unease, euphoria's echo ebbing into empathy, wonder wakened at Oota's whimsical whirl, scars from Kashiwada's yearned yet yoked youth that scar like the calluses of ceaseless counts in the pursuit of happiness as pavement plods. Moments of mandated mirth left luminous legacies, sparks in the portrait's sudden surge igniting an insurgent introspection. The climax converges as canvas's cataclysm, a destiny's duet where pulses precipitate into packs, refracting the rhythm's raw reality. It summons eternal queries. In the portrait of our persistent pains, do we dissolve in the downbeat of doubt, or does the ordinary's fervor forge the heart's haphazard harmony? Feel that flicker, reader, comparable to the artist's agonizing girl with a pearl earring's gilded gazes. Raw, relentless, rippling through ribs, the reverberations remain, a routine unrepeated through reverse reading, the contemplative cadences, pacing's patient palette, the opacity of unluck's origins, might murmur as muddle, intricacies ink rusting into incomprehensibles, yet reframe. These are rhythmic radicals, thematic throbs echoing Azuma's textured tableaus, where veils of vulnerability invite the viewer's vigilant voyage. Kashiwada's quandaries a deliberate decrescendo to the dawn. Appreciation arcs over critique, visceral virtuosity as vanguard, though a brisker brush to broader beats might bolster the beginners. Balanced, it's a breaker of brilliance, frailties as fervent fortissimos. Episode 2 triumphs in its textured tableau, character crevices carved with compassionate care, narrative nuances navigating nebulae of nexus, an artistic assault that alchemizes Azuma's tale into tactile tumult. Weaknesses, whispered in the wings, fleeting phrase informs flux, occasional overload of ostinatos. It succeeds supremely, a spell of sketch and soul, narrative notes nailed to the nexus. Yet ponder this, the promise that pricks like a pencil's point poised. What if the portrait you postpone is the one that portrays your purpose? Watching isn't whim, it's the stroke through your sketchbook, the descent into the daily where your dormant designs demand their due. Dip the brush. The ordinary awaits your outline.